You open your eyes. The room is dark. There's no sound. No reason to be awake, but your heart's already going. You turn your head. Phone screen says 3 a.m. You don't know why you're up. Your body does. It's dark. It's quiet. You're alone. And somewhere in the back of your head, you're already scanning the room. Not because you're anxious, because you're human. Because for most of human history, waking up in the dark meant one thing: find out if something's wrong before it finds you. You call this insomnia. You call it broken. But your body isn't broken. It just thinks it's still 25,000 BC. The problem isn't that you woke up. The problem is what you do next. 35% of Americans wake up in the middle of the night at least 3 times a week, which means this isn't some rare malfunction. This is a mass pattern, something happening to tens of millions of people every single night. And here's where it gets strange. A historian named Roger Ekirch spent 16 years digging through archives, and he found over 500 documents, diaries, court records, prayer books, medical texts, letters from ordinary people spread across England, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, and every single one of them mentions the same thing: first sleep, second sleep. People would go to bed a couple hours after sunset and sleep for about 4 hours, and then wake up, not in a panic, not anxiously checking the time, just wake up naturally and stay awake for an hour, maybe 2. They called this the watch. Then they'd sleep another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was how people slept for thousands of years. You're not broken. Your body remembers this rhythm right now, tonight, whether you know it or not. Now, you could say, fine, that's history. Maybe people were just suffering in silence because they didn't have a choice. Maybe they called it normal, but really it was just bad sleep and they didn't know any better. Here's what the science says. In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health ran an experiment. He took 15 healthy people and removed all artificial light from their lives, 14 hours of darkness every night for a month with no instructions and nobody telling them to sleep in 2 blocks. Within weeks, every single participant shifted into biphasic sleep: 4 hours down, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, another 4 hours until morning. The body remembered. The program had been there the whole time, buried under a century of electric light. But Ware didn't just measure the sleep. He took blood from the participants during that nighttime waking period and found something that shouldn't have been there if this was just regular waking: prolactin, the calm hormone, the same one your body releases during meditation, the same one that floods your system after orgasm. The participants weren't just lying there awake the way you lie there awake. They described the state as peaceful, contemplative, almost meditative, like they'd slipped into a different way of being awake that most of us have never felt. This wasn't waking up the way we think of it. This was a third state of consciousness, not sleep, not wakefulness, something in between that most people alive today have never experienced. And here's the wild part. In 2023, neuroscientists confirm this on scanners. When a person lies in the dark with no screen, not sleeping, just lying there, their brain enters a state that doesn't exist in sleep or in normal waking life: quiet activation. It sorts memories, processes emotions, like a night janitor cleaning up while the office is empty. This isn't lost sleep. Your brain is working. Now, here's the thing about that state. It's fragile. It only happens in the dark, real dark. No screens, no LEDs, no phone glowing on the nightstand. The moment light hits your eyes, it's gone. The janitor drops everything and walks out. And what do? We wake up at 3 in the morning. The body launches the program. Prolactin rises. The brain gets ready to do its cleanup. And then we pick up the phone, check the time, maybe scroll, maybe just stare at the screen because it's there. And the brain gets the signal: daytime. Melatonin shuts down. Prolactin shuts down. The night janitor never showed up. The ancient program that was supposed to give you an hour of silence turns into a panic attack in the dark. And then we lie there, counting the hours until the alarm, thinking, why can't I sleep? What's wrong with me? Nothing. You just turned on the sun at 3 in the morning. And this window wasn't just a biological thing. People built entire parts of their culture inside it. Samuel Pepys in London in the 1660s writes in his diary, he woke up in the middle of the night and he didn't complain about it, didn't call it a disorder, didn't say he tossed and turned. He wrote, lay awake an hour, thinking on my business. He just lay there in the dark and thought about his life. Benedictine monks for 1500 years woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning for vigiliae, the night prayer. And this wasn't some act of heroic discipline. It was a schedule built around the body's own rhythm, as if the church has simply institutionalized realized what every human body was already doing. French physician Laurent Joubert in 1570 advises couples to have sex during this exact window between first and second sleep. They will do it better, he writes, better at 3 in the morning. The guy was a doctor, and he was prescribing sex at 3 a.m. like it was the most obvious thing in the world. In Scandinavia, they called it nattmål, night meal. People would wake up, eat bread, drink milk, talk to each other in the dark, and then go back to sleep as if this was the most natural thing in the world, because for them, it was. The watch wasn't a gap in the night, it was an institution. Religion, medicine, sex, food, all of it built into this window between first sleep and second sleep that every human body expected to exist. And then light showed up. Paris, 1660s. Louis XIV hangs the first street lamps, oil lanterns on ropes stretched across the street. His goal was simple: reduce crime. It worked. And for the first time, the night became something you could walk through. London puts up the same lamps, then Amsterdam, then Vienna, and within decades, the night that nobody had ever been able to walk through for 300,000 years started to shrink. Then cheaper candles, then gas lamps, and finally, 1879, at Menlo Park, New Jersey, Edison commercializes the light bulb, and within a single generation, within one human lifetime, the night that humanity had always known was simply gone. And here's what that does to you. Charles Czeisler at Harvard Medical School has spent decades studying what light does to sleep, and what he found is this: ordinary indoor light in the evening, not bright light, just normal indoor light, suppresses melatonin by 50 to 85%. Blue light from screens is the worst offender by far. 1 hour of phone time before bed delays your melatonin peak by an hour and a half. Now put it together. You already saw what happens when you wake up and reach for the phone. The program shuts down, the janitor walks out. But it's not just the middle of the night, it's the whole evening. Every hour of light after sunset is your brain being told, it's still daytime, keep going, don't start the night shift yet. So by the time you finally turn off the lights, your body is already behind. The program that should have started hours ago is still waiting for the signal. And when you wake up at 3 in the morning, which you will because that's what bodies do, the program tries to launch. And if you reach for the phone again, you shut it down again. You're not broken. You're just living in a world that never lets the night start. And then we called it a disease. In the 17th century, right around the time those first street lamps appeared, doctors started describing night walking as a medical symptom, wandering at night, a sign of melancholy. And they were pathologizing the very thing that artificial light had just broken, as if the problem was the body and not the lamps. Today we have sleep trackers and smartwatches and apps, and there's even a term for what they're doing to us: orthosomnia, the obsession with perfect sleep metrics. You wake up in the morning and look at your watch, and it says you slept 6.8 hours, and you think, that's bad, I'm failing at sleep. The anxiety builds before you've even gotten out of bed. Now here's a question: if insomnia were a universal human problem, if the body genuinely malfunctioned without 8 hours of unbroken sleep, then every culture on Earth should know that word, should have a name for it, should treat it as a problem. Here's what anthropologists found. The Chimene in Bolivia are hunter-gatherers, and researchers put actigraphs on them and measured their sleep. Average duration, 6.5 hours. Nearly everyone wakes up during the night. Only 2% of them know the word for insomnia. 2%. The Hadza in Tanzania, same story. They wake up at night, and nobody thinks it's a problem because it's just night, and night is supposed to have waking in it. That's what night does. That's what night has always done. Insomnia, in the way we understand it, is a cultural construct. We invented a disease to explain a glitch we created ourselves with light bulbs and screens and this idea that the body should sleep like a machine. And now TikTok is rediscovering biphasic sleep as a life hack. 200 million views under a single hashtag. Young people teaching each other to sleep like medieval peasants. And they're calling it a hack, as if they invented it, as if this is some new optimization for human performance. Our ancestors just called it night. Tonight you're going to wake up. The room will be dark and quiet, and it'll be somewhere around 3 in the morning, and you'll open your eyes and your hand will start reaching for the phone the way it always does. And maybe this time you'll stop. You'll remember that this is the watch. This is the window. And for 300,000 years, your ancestors woke up at this exact hour and they watched the embers of the fire and they thought about their business like Samuel Pepys, and they prayed like the Benedictines, and they ate bread and milk in the dark dark like Scandinavian farmers, and they just lay there thinking, because the quiet between first sleep and second sleep was the only time in the day when the world stopped making demands. You'll lie there for a minute. Maybe you'll think about something. Maybe you'll just listen to the quiet. Maybe, for the first time in a long time, you won't be afraid of 3 in the morning, because you'll understand that you're not broken. You're just ancient, and you finally have a minute of silence.